behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Paul Mash TV. Paul Mash TV.
Well, hello everybody. It's Paul Mash TV time again. Thank you for joining us on another episode. We got a great interview coming up for you, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. And anytime we get a new interview ready for you, you'll be notified, and you can check that out. And make sure you leave a message on our comment section here on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, go to facebook.com/PaulMashTV. And you can like the page, obviously, inboxes, comment and everything you see, and we'd love to hear from you there as well. And if you want to contact us by email, it's easy to do, paulmashtv, all one word, @gmail.com. And you can use it not just if you're a band or solo artist wanting to be on the show, but hey, if you're simply a fan, you can use that same email address, and we'd love to hear from you, and we'll always respond. And we're going to recap all this for you at the closing credits at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. From Elk Grove, California, we have Andrew Lozano, and he's another talented artist, and a great one at that, and I'm sure you'll agree. But before we get into that, here's Click Jam time, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
We got history, got me feeling the nostalgia when you look at me, thinking about what could.
Well, hello everybody, it's interview time again, and with us from Elk Grove, California, we have Andrew Lozano. Thanks for joining us, Andrew.
Hey, Paul, thanks for having me, and thanks for hanging out while I got on the line here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, he was running a little late, everybody, but at least we got him. That's that's the important thing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how it all started for you as far as being his artist. I mean, everyone has their own story, and I'm sure you got your own story.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Someone else had asked me the same question, and I was talking to my mom just this past weekend, and they were talking about, so Andrew, like, how did you learn how to play bass, or, how did you get into the whole music scene? And I got to say, it happened in church. We used to go to this little church in San Jose up on the hill, East Side Hills. And it was a place called Twin Palms Church. And after church was done, I was always fascinated with the drummer. So I'd go over there and play on his drums after, and nobody would be there. And then I'd play on the organ, I'd play on the piano, but I picked up a bass one time, and it was this big old long P bass. And I was just a little kid, and I was just ding, 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 ding. And the guy's like, "You're pretty good at that." I had little rhythm, I was just using my index finger and kind of learning the chord he was doing. And I sat there for an hour, and he taught me how to play a little bit. And it always stuck with me. And a couple years later, some kids down the block, like my brother and a friend down the street, wanted to start a band. And so we had a drummer. They had two guitar players. And I was like, well, kind of dabble with the bass, so I'll go and purchase a bass. And I struggled a little bit because I couldn't keep up, because they were already awesome guitar players, but I wanted to be like Flea from the Chili Peppers, learning that slap bass, like back to back to back to back. And I got really good at it, and then I had to learn how to listen to others. And in grade school, I jumped in an all boys all co-ed like type of choir called the Sylvandale Select in East Side. San Jose, and Lee Alcar, bless her heart, she's in heaven now, really saw some talent in me. I was able to direct and help her out with the music, and we did like little shows after school. And so that's how I was able to gain the courage to have stage presence, singing. And my vocals are terrible now that I'm an adult. I haven't really practiced in a while, but I do know what I like. And so I dabbled with the piano for about 2 years, and the bass all my life, and a little bit of drums and drum machines, and I got all kinds of gear around me. You can't see it because the camera's going this way, but that's how I got started. And then in high school, I joined a band called Roach. And you imagine going to an all ghetto high school, with like 15-foot fences, like it's like a penitentiary, right? It's like a jail. There's no grass, just dirt. In the quad, and so we won the talent show playing, like, I think it was like a Metallica song, like Inner Sandman and Smashing Pumpkins, I Am One. And that trophy's still at the school, and I've been trying to get it from them, and they have it in their attic. And I'm like, I own this trophy. Like, no, the school owns it. Anyway, long story short, move forward. I played in several bar bands, and then I found a singer named Jessica Marquez. When I was working at Macy's, I was delivering stock to the makeup counter, and I heard her singing, and someone said, "Oh, she's like this, you know, she's really good." And then so I decided to speak with her, and I said, "Hey, I heard you're a vocalist," and she thought I was picking up on her. And she's like, "Well, you know, if you want to hook up tonight." I'm like, "Well, not like that. I mean, I just wanted to talk to you musically." She's like, "Well, I'm having a couple of friends over. Why don't you come by?" And so I went over to her friend's house, and we were sitting in the backyard. They had a picnic table on the east side of San Jose. She told me about her brother, Joshua Marquez, who was about 14 and a half years old. But he was a prodigy guitar player, like Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin. She's like, "You should come by the house." We really got in great conversations. When musicians talk, they talk. And so it was no longer like I'm trying to pick up on. It was more like we had this connection musically. And Jessica, she started performing for me right there at the table in this backyard at some stranger's house. And I was like blown away up. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about how glorious she was and what a diva she was when she sang. So the following week, I go to their house. Turns out they live on the same street that I was renting, right down the street. So I was able to wheel my bass guitar down to their house, literally about, I would say 18 houses down. I lived around the corner from them. I didn't even know that because I was renting. And right when I walked in, the dad opens the door. He had a guitar and his strap on, and with his guitar, and the drums were set up, and we immediately just fell in love with each other, and we formed a band called Unique, UNEAQ, and we ended up getting a drummer, a keyboardist who also was an MC, and a DJ, and we performed every Thursday night in San Jose, and we made a name for ourselves. And then we lost our drummer and MC, and I brought in a computer, a PC, and that was our new drummer. And we decided to get into some house music because I always liked the whole electronic music scene. And the rest is history. I took off from there, and we toured for almost 10 years, on and off, you know, trying to work jobs and living from hotel to hotel. Then I moved up from San Jose to Sacramento, California, which is Elk Grove. And the band kind of dismantled, and we all went our own ways. And now I'm sitting here in my studio called Freaky Music Group Studio, and I run a music label. And now I'm self-produced. I produce other folks. And now I have this album that I'm talking to you about today called Conceptualize that came out in January. And I have a newer album coming out in September. And that's where I'm at today. This is it's been a long journey, but it's been a healthy and fun, enjoyable journey, I tell you, musically.
Okay, well, that was quite a story there, and
Very long-winded.
I hope you'll be around for quite a while.
Yeah,
And
me too.
why don't you tell us about some of the artists that you grew up as far as the mainstream artists that really helped you in your music styles and so forth?
Sure. Well, in church, I was really into Andre Crouch, you know, a lot of Christian singers and musicians. And then my parents were into both. They liked secular music and like Christian music. And so they got me into like Hall & Oates. My second concert was Shaka Khan at the San Jose Fairgrounds. In fact, she threw this thing out, and it kept flying out. It was bouncing off of people's hands, and then I caught it, and I didn't know what it was. It was like this. It was like a square. And later I found out it was called a CD. We didn't own a CD player yet because it was back in the 80s. This like CDs were kind of a new thing. Just to have like a CD Walkman or something was like, you're like rich. Well, my dad decided to go out and buy one, and I got to listen to it. And I was like, oh, this is the band we just saw. So they were a big influence on me. Another big influence on me was Santana, of course. I really love Santana. I loved, of course, like a lot of the Parliament funk. I loved Michael Jackson and Prince, like you wouldn't believe. But then I got into, you get into your adolescence, and you grow up, and I got into like wearing eyeliner. I thought it was like into modern rock. So I wanted to be like Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode. I loved The Cure. I loved modern rock. Gosh, I just had this huge amount of history of music that I used to go and check out. But today, moving fast forward, After getting into house music, listening to artists like Mark Farina, Derek Carter, a lot of Chicago house heads, people from San Francisco, jumping on from label to label in the house music world, I decided to slow things down. And it could have been COVID, but I got into like really cool, like I would say lo-fi hip hop, a splash of synth wave or chill wave. It's honestly really tough to explain what I do unless you listen to the album. It's just, I slowed it down from 125 down to 90 BPM all the way up to 100 BPM. It's just a really nice blend, and I encourage all of you guys to take a listen to Conceptualize. It's part of me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, those, Shaka Khan, I haven't heard that name in a long time, but yeah, I used to love her stuff, and she's obviously a legend, and Hall & Oates, as you said.
Oh yeah.
Well, if anybody right now is watching this interview and they want to go out and get your music, how would they do that? Is it all streaming platforms? Is there any physical CDs on you? Maybe you could let us know.
Sure. As we all know, CDs kind of went out the window, records went out the window. Everyone's just, everything's now digital. But CDs and tape cassettes and albums are all making a comeback. So I will in the future have material that you can actually hold, like records. But right now everything's all digital. You can find me on my Bandcamp at Andrew Lozano, or you can listen to me on your favorite sites like Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play. I mean, I'm on everything now just because I use DistroKid, which is a pretty big platform, partnered with a bunch of download streaming websites. So yeah, Andrew Lozano, that's the best place to come and listen to my music and experience what I put out there.
Okay. Well, everybody just go to those streaming platforms and get his Andrew Lozano's music. I know he'll love you for that.
Yeah,
and great stuff. yeah, great stuff. And a couple of times you mentioned Conceptualize, I think you said the name of the song was. Is there a story behind that song? That's the video we're going to be watching in a minute. But tell us a little bit about what that song's about.
Yes, Conceptualize. We all got in a funk during COVID, and then in January of 2021. Well, actually, 2020 was just a really wacky year. We had a president, all this crap was going on in the world. There was a lot of hatred, a lot of violence and racism, and there always has been, but it was just extreme. And everybody is really hypertension on Facebook and Twitter and everything. I was on a walk with my kids, and I actually had this phone with me, and I wanted to do some more recording. So I did some Foley recording, which is you record nature. And so I recorded them playing in the park. And I really thought that there was something gorgeous or beautiful about nature and your family playing. And so that's in the very beginning of Conceptualize. You hear cars going by, trucks going by. Maybe there was like a dump truck going by. Conceptualize just kind of came to me because I had a vision of what I wanted to do and slow things down. And I had conceptualized the album before it even was released. I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted something chill hop. And I wanted to take the listener, you, on a journey. So when you listen to Conceptualize, know that there's going to be a second song called, I think it's Honey, or I can't remember the name of my songs, but it just really takes you on a journey. And if you want to know the definition of a Conceptualize, Google search it. It has many definitions. But to me, Conceptualize was just probably the easiest project I've ever worked on. And I just think that the mixing and mastering, that all the work that I put into all of my artists, I was able to easily just put into this album. And it all spawned from a guy that I was working with on his album called Roving Jewel. I did 2 albums for him, and all the presets I saved in Logic Pro, which is a music making software I used for my album. So everything was like templates were set up. I would record because I was at home now. I would record, and then on my lunch break, I'd listen to it in the backyard as I'm drinking my water and in my in the sun, and just kind of relaxing, listening to and meditating and really absorbing the sound that I was putting out. And I was just putting out a song almost every week. Mixed and mastered, finished, ready to go. And that's really how Conceptualize came out. It was probably the easiest project I've ever worked on.
Okay, well, it is a good song, and I know everyone's dying to get into that. And as I said in a moment, we'll get into that. But I guess that's about all I can think of for right now, Andrew. And we want to thank you for coming on the show. We'd love to have you back again sometime if you ever want to plug something new for us.
Yeah, I have something new coming very soon. So September, I have my album High Tide. It's a little bit different from Conceptualized, and again, it takes you on a journey. This one is all about the ocean. It's just, something about the ocean is just it's just very unknown. The tides come and they go, just like life does, and feelings. So I think you'll really enjoy High Tide coming in September. Probably the third week of September, I'll be doing a live show, probably here in Sacramento, and maybe stream it live for all of my fans. So I appreciate you having me, Paul. It's been
and maybe when that comes out, maybe we'll have you back again, then we can plug something from that album, and we'll see how that goes, I guess.
I appreciate your time, man. I really do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into that song Conceptualized right now by Andrew Lozano, and we'll be back in just a moment. So don't go away. We'll be right back.